Hey Juventini, I'm Alberto. Welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel and another episode of Juve Today. All right, so out of the gate, we're going to talk about the backup goalkeeper situation. Some names are starting to appear on Juventus' list of guys they'd like to acquire. Cragno is one, Odero is another, Ospina is in there, and of course, Mirante, who is a free agent. So these are all possibilities of the backup goalkeeper situation. Pinsolio, as far as Pinsolio goes, his future will be decided very, very soon, is what the rumors are saying. Now, Del Piero, of course, our club legend, our club icon, has conducted an interview very, very recently, and he started talking about situations at Juventus, talked about his future in management, and it's always interesting to hear Il Capitano speak. And he was talking about Dybala, and he said if he were at Juventus, he would focus on building the trust back with Dybala, which basically stated that you can tell is not there. So he said he would make sure that he was a focal point, which is something that Allegri has said in his return. All the rumors are stating that Allegri wants to make him a focal point. So this will be interesting to see. Del Piero was also talking about management. He said he didn't want anything given to him based on his history with the club, and he wants to be chosen at some point based on who he is and what he can offer, which is great to hear from him. And he even spoke about Maldini not returning to Milan quickly, but taking his time. And then in terms of Ronaldo, he was pretty much very clear on Ronaldo, just saying that he cannot do the things that he could, back 5-10 years ago, but he needs to make a choice that's effective based on where his standards are now. And I want to ask all of you, is it time for Juventus and Ronaldo to part ways? Simple question. Based on, again, what kind of Del Piero was saying, based on what he could provide the team or whatnot. Are we better off? And is Ronaldo better off? I personally see him as a luxury player now at this point in his career. He's high on the wage bills. For Juventus in a rebuild mode, for me, I think it's better for us to offload. For Ronaldo, I think it's better for him to go to a team that's probably going to compete for that Champions League title a little more seriously than us, because we're in a rebuild. We're in a flux. So, yeah, I think it'd probably be better for both parties. But I want to hear your thoughts. Now, in terms of Memphis Depay, Juventus has tried to enter this race, but Barca still holds pole position. Juve was rumored to offer 3 million euros a season more than Barca, but Barca then added a year, so they very much sit in pole position to land Memphis Depay. In terms of some youngsters, we were talking about youngsters yesterday, Fagioli and Rovella. There are two names, along with Dragusin, that could be used to bring Locatelli's asking price down from Sassuolo. Okay. And we asked the question yesterday, who would you rather keep and maintain at Juventus, Fagioli or Rovella? And on Twitter, on the Twitter poll, and by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you do. That's where all the discussions heat up and take place. It's at All JuveCast on Twitter. The poll question, it was a landslide Fagioli to keep over Rovella. So I am in the minority, but I would rather hold on to Rovella. I understand that fans get, a little more attached when a player has come through the ranks at Juventus and they want to keep these guys. And Fagioli, I think, by all means, have some type of buyback clause or whatnot so that we're not outright getting rid of him, or try to make it some loan. But Rovella has already played a season at Genoa. Okay, and he's looked very, very impressive. And I think he could slot in minutes with us immediately. And I think Fagioli, I'd like to see get more minutes to truly be able to see where he stands in terms of the league, because we just saw such a small tidbit. And one of those matches, you could have literally slotted me in there against Spal in that Coppa Italia match because there was acres of space. So again, being a little standoffish, my personal preference out of the two to keep immediately with the team would be Rovella. But that's not a slight against Fagioli in any way because, again, you can see the talent there and whatnot. But again, I just want to see it more. Dragusin is an interesting one. I think we still have question marks at the back. Demiral, will he be sold? That would probably change my mind in terms of offering Dragusin. But again, the youngsters, rotating carousel. I want to hear your thoughts on what you think in terms of using some of these guys. Morata is another discussion that heated up yesterday on Twitter. Morata's loan will be renewed for one more season. To me, this is a no-brainer. Why would we give ourselves more work to do in the Mercato by not renewing this loan? It is cheap in the grand scale of things. It's a 10 million euro loan for another season. Yeah, he makes 5 million euro in wages. It's 15 million euros total. But everybody that's saying that isn't cheap, look at the alternatives. You're going out there and you're spending 5 million euros a season on Dzeko plus whatever to get him in. You could bring Milik in on a free, but is there a huge gain there in terms of the player? Morata's already been with us. I actually like what he's done. We got to remember, he's on a 20-goal season. He had a little quiet slump in there. All players do. Even Cristiano Ronaldo had a little quiet section during this past season. But he provided 20 goals. You're just renewing a loan for 10 million. Get to the long-term thing the next season. I still think our biggest issue this season was we had no backup to Morata. So when he was out, we were left high and dry. I think you keep Morata on that loan. You still look to add a striker option. That way we have two. We need to stop going into seasons without the proper depth and backup. So renewing Morata, for me, is a no-brainer. We should still look at bringing someone in. But you start looking at some of these targets. It's going to be very, very hard to deal for Belotti. It's going to be very, very hard to deal for Vlahovic when you're dealing with immediate rivals. Okay, and Vlahovic has already been labeled untouchable. 50 to 60 million euros on his price tag. It's going to be tough. And everybody wants to talk about these swaps and whatnot, but you can't just get rid of everybody in swaps too. Have to keep some of these other guys as well. So it's going to be interesting. They have their work cut out for them. It is said to be that we will be bringing in 4 to 5 players. Another striker, an alternative to Morata, which I agree with, is on the docket, as well as 2 quality midfielders. And then from there, obviously, a backup goalkeeper, as Max Allegri has been rumored to be the one that said no to Donnarumma. Just not seeing it as a priority. And to be honest, for me personally, it's hard to disagree with that. I said it, Donnarumma was a massive opportunity, not exactly immediate need. It's just the times we find ourselves in at Juventus trying to do this rebuild and whatnot. And again, coming off a season where revenues were pretty much wiped out. So it's very, very difficult to maneuver. They have a tricky Mercato ahead of them at Juventus. And this is what we're seeing now. So yeah, that's it for the news circulating today surrounding Juventus. I want to get your thoughts on out of these goalkeepers, who would you like as coming in as the backup? ADP's interview. Thoughts on him potentially being part of management one day. He also said something very, very interesting. He said he wouldn't talk about Pirlo's problems at Juve, but he would talk about problems at Juve. And this is one of the things he's been very candid about. And all of us, Juventini, have talked about is the issues the club has had in terms of replacing players, contract extensions, and everything. It's time to sort it out at the top. And I think they're starting to. And hopefully Max plays a major part in that. But your thoughts on ADP's interview. Your thoughts on Juve going after Depay. Should they even bother? Who would you rather see in Memphis Depay? I asked this other poll question on Twitter. Out of the options, straight up. Belotti, Vlahovic, Dzeko, Depay. Icardi. Even though it's rumored, Icardi is not a target for Juventus. If Cristiano Ronaldo works something out with PSG, then Icardi would become a piece they'd like to bring in, as Max likes the profile on that player. So that's an interesting one. How do you feel about that list of strikers? Who would you handpick out of them to join Juventus? And don't forget to throw Gabriel Jesus into the mix. Out of the youngsters, Fagioli, Dragusin, Rovella, should they be used to bring down Locatelli's price? Which one would you handpick to use to drop the price? Morata's loan renewal, that's a big one. How do you feel? For me, it's a no-brainer to renew him, but there was a lot of people disagreed. Do you disagree? Let me hear it all in the comment section here. Thank you all for tuning in. Hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and stay tuned for way more Juve content. And don't forget that tomorrow morning, we are going to become the All Azzurri cast, as we have a match day live getting ready for the Euro opener between Italy and Turkey. So stay tuned for all the Azzurri fun too. Ciao tutti, forza Juve, fino alla fine.